Good morning, everyone. My name is Christoph Frey. I'm a professor of political science. I teach mostly in the areas of political science and international affairs. And it will be my pleasure to come up with a few follow-up questions. Thank you so very much for taking the time to take those questions. The theme of this morning is inspiration from pioneers. Inspiration from pioneers. Now, pioneers can be individuals, and of course, pioneers may also be collective actors. Now, if you look at Switzerland and consider Switzerland to be indeed one corporate collective actor, and if you had to defend the claim that Switzerland is a pioneer when it comes to sustainable action and the issues of sustainability, what is your best argument to corroborate, to support the claim that Switzerland is in fact a pioneer?
Normally, you can convince with economic value and also the outcome of all these measures. And therefore, we try also to underline the effect of our measures with economic studies. For example, since the 1990s, we had a growth in Switzerland, an economic growth of about 36%. And in the same time, we could decouple energy consumption and CO2 emissions. So in the same time where we have this 36% of economic growth, the decrease of energy consumption was about 20%, and the increase of CO2 emissions was less than 8%. So this, I think, shows you can have economic growth and also a sustainable development which cares about energy and CO2. And we also change a little bit in our communication because biodiversity, for example, that's also an infrastructure. An infrastructure has to be maintained. Cost of maintenance, everybody understands this. And sometimes you also have to do an investment. And therefore, I think changing a little bit that climate, environment, sustainability, it's not only for green politicians and it's not only something I don't like or it's very cost intensive. So we have to find other ways to communicate and to show it's an economic value at the end of the day.
The notion of communication brings me to the second question. It's the last but one question. In here we have many members of the Generation Y, students, young, bright people. Heaven knows, and you know, that there is no lack of inspiration out there. There is many good ideas. There is many wonderful projects. Actually, there is tons of people with business plans. Everybody comes into the public place and everybody wants public support. Everybody wants you to say something in favor of such and such project. Federal Councillor, do you have a particular message for Generation Y? Are they mostly a pain in your neck because all they want is action here and now? But you, as a member of government, you know full well that resources are limited. Even in Switzerland, resources are limited. Is there something like a standard message, or what is your best message to members of the Generation Y? Because they want action, and they want it now. Are they your avant-garde, or are they a pain?
No, I'm happy that they are an avant-garde because I think it's very frustrating also for me sometimes seeing a lot of good projects and I can't tell, okay, I give you 1 million here, 1 million there. It's not possible, but finding money normally is not the biggest issue. I think the biggest issue, have inspiration, have a good model. When it's a business model, so you will earn money with it. It's a question of time. So I think inspiration and a certain, I think dedication to your project is key. And I've seen in South Africa also young students, they have excellent programs and ideas, and sometimes a little support is already enough that they make the way to implement their project. So never give up and be a pain for politicians, be a pain for business people. I think that's necessary. Otherwise, we just wait and nothing happens. So I think we need the dynamism of young people and new ideas. And I'm sure also banks and funds change more and more towards sustainable financing. And therefore, the consumer is a power. The consumer is a power. And when the consumer wants sustainable technologies and another solution, sooner or later, this will be reality. So don't give up, continue on. Yeah.
Be a pain.
Be a pain.
Be a pain. Last question. Politics, by definition, is the place where all the inspirations meet, and every inspiration is looking for support, and they compete for support. Now, you listen to political parties, you listen to voters, you listen to the public sector, to the private sector, to the parliament, of course. You listen to so many actors all day long, and at the end of the proverbial day, federal councillor, where do you turn to for inspiration, or perhaps I should say, where do you turn to for orientation in the midst of so many claims?
Mm-hmm. It's indeed very difficult. So I look really on what's going on universities. Really? No, that's not. I study a lot of documents, or I invite professors, or listen. What's going on really? What are your researchers doing? Although I know well, all statistics and all documents also can have a focus I don't like, but I think when you look what happens in 20 years, it's amazing. We have such a lot of development. So this gives me hope and inspiration that in 20 years the world is totally different. So technical solutions, new business models, the digital technologies will transform the world. So I'm sure of that. So it's more, how can I contribute? Do I put in the smart regulation going on supporting these developments? And therefore, I think the human being is very clever. So therefore, I think researchers will be more important also in the future. But we have to give them enough support. They have to be independent, very important, independent universities and researchers, and always give them also, I would say, social capacity. It's not only about money and about being intelligent, you must also have an emotional intelligence. I think this sometimes is perhaps not on top of a university's agenda, but I think at the end of the day, we have to understand a student or a child born in Pretoria, a child born in Mali, a child born in Lima and in Zurich. They have so different starting points, and for this you need a lot of sensitivity and understanding that the chances and the perspectives all over the world are so different. We have to care about that, and this needs emotional intelligence.
About 45 minutes ago, we met out there mounting those microphones, and I mentioned to Federal Councillor Leuthard, would you like for me to discuss the questions that I'm going to ask? And she said, heaven no, just shoot. Thank you very much for taking the time. Ganz herzlichen Dank. Ganz herzlichen Dank.